All right.
All right, everyone. I think by now, most everyone has hopefully seen Monday.com and seen your EBP boards. I know for our staff that your boards are empty right now. We are still working on the summer schedule. We're trying to get done with the nonprofit schedule first so that we can see the nonprofit load and then we can start assigning staff to the EBPs as well. I just wanted to do a kind of quick overview. I think most of you that have clicked around on there hopefully agreed that it's pretty user friendly, but I wanted to go over some tips and tricks as well as kind of talk to you about what we're hoping that you guys can start updating for us every Monday, monday.com. Get it? Michael laughed. That's all I needed was one. Thanks, man. Okay. Okay, so I am first on Andrew's board here. And I think we've already kind of gone over anything you see with this little green arrow here is connected to our big EBP tracking board. So every Monday, what we're hoping that you can do for us is update everything that has a green arrow. Some of this won't need to be updated, like the payroll provider, the record keeper. That's already done. Just update it if there's any changes. But what we're really looking for every Monday are these status updates. Have we received the engagement letter yet? Do we have the audit package, census? Really, when we get into field work, testing's ready for review, planning's ready for review. We're hoping that you guys can start updating for this every Monday. It'll also give us live updates to really see where all of our plans are. And again, for all of the in charges, what can eventually start happening is your staff will do the same thing. So you can come to your board and this will automatically update as well. So you can see they've already made selections. They've already received the census data and tied it out. So it'll not just help the manager partner group, it'll help all levels as long as everybody keeps updating this every Monday. I'm sure it's going to take a while, but please just make it part of your Monday morning routine so we don't have to harass people with constant emails every Monday about this. If you start to do it every time, I think it'll be quick. I mean, probably most of your jobs, won't have that much movement. It's probably only 3 or 4 you have to update every Monday. For Andrew's board here, as you can see, he has just the staff, and I think this is the way most of the seniors boards are set up. If you wanted to see who the managers are on these jobs, easiest way is to right click, duplicate column and values. So now we have our duplicate column. Going to right click again, go to settings, customize the mirror column because this is a mirrored column coming from the original board. Instead of going to staff, I'm going to change it to manager. Now he knows all the managers on his jobs. So if you click right here in the middle, you can name these whatever you would like to. That'll go for anything that you want to add that is on the main project board. Go to any of your columns that already have, again, this little green arrow. That means it's a mirrored column, and that's all you have to do. Right click, duplicate columns and values. And then once it's been duplicated, go to settings, customize, and choose whatever you want to have being shown up there. If you highlight any of these columns, you'll see the little 6 dots over here. You can click and drag to move these wherever you would want to. Just FYI, if you don't care who the record keeper is and you don't find it useful, click and drag and put it all the way to the right of your board if you want to. As you're messing around with your boards, the only thing that we ask is that you do not delete any of the mirrored columns because we want you guys to update these. To add a column, you can add anything you want to for yourself. This will not show up on the main board, but say if there's something that you want to keep track of, you can click on the plus button, add a column. It'll give you several different examples of things that you can do. But if you want to have your own status, for example, it'll let you edit these labels so you'll know for yourself, if you're working on it, if it's done, if it's waiting for review, anything that you want to add, you can add as many columns as you want to make this your own board, your own tracker. And none of this will affect the EBP project tab. As you can see, there's no green arrow for the mirrored column. So you can add as much as you would like here to keep track of things yourself as well. Any questions on adding a column or what we are expecting you guys to update every Monday before I keep going a little bit? Okay.
Daniel, I was just going to add, if the reason that we have the record keeper and payroll provider on here is that we want you guys to update that for any changes, or, you know, those, we don't want those to be blank. So it looks like Andrew has a couple of blanks here. That's really useful, you know, for the stuff that I'm doing with like the bot and downloading. I need to know what record keepers. It's good information for a variety of reasons, but so if it's blank, please fill it in. If it needs to be updated to something different, please change it. You will notice that ADP, we used to just say ADP, right? But we really want to know what type of ADP they have. So probably most of the blanks that are on there are ADP. And so we want you to distinguish between auto pay, workforce now, that kind of thing. So just make sure that you're filling that in for us, please.
Next, not something that we need you guys to update every Monday. This is under these week scheduled and expected time. We are experimenting, or sorry, with the EBP scheduling tab down here. You guys can look at it as well. Again, it's kind of in a experimental mode, but all you have to do is select, and you can select the day, but it doesn't matter what day because we're doing it by week. Then you put, then under the expected time is how many hours you think you're going to spend on that week working on this plan. Let's just say 20 here. And this will flow through to our EBP scheduling tab, which again, we're still going to do things in ProStaff, but now for Andrew here, I can see on this week, he's going to have 20 hours of EBP time, and I can see that's on the Tommy Novus plan. We just want to play with this for this EBP season to see how useful it is, if at all. If it turns out to be something that we can't use, we'll scrap it. But please update that as you actually start to get your EBP scheduled. Again, we're not going to bug you about it too much. We just want to see how it works out, because if we can find a way to integrate this with our financial statement audits, we think it can give us a lot of great information of like, all right, Andrew's got 20 hours of EBPs this week, but he also has 40 hours of nonprofits this week. Andrew's screwed. We got to figure out a way to help him out. So that's kind of our goal there. So please help us out with updating the week schedule and the expected time as much as you're able to. Last thing I wanted to kind of go over is the dashboard. So everyone has their own dashboard. And I think just to kind of get you started, we've got just the engagement letter here. To create any of these things, and you're gonna have to play with it. It's user friendly, but you do have to click around to try to get used to it a little bit. If you click on add widget, you can do all types of different charts. But essentially every single thing kind of starts off basic, but if you click on the more options and go to settings, this will let you, I mean, I don't want to say there's unlimited options, but there's several different options of the things you can create to keep track of whatever you want to on a visual basis. You'll go down here and change those. If you're interested in adding a widget and you can't figure out how to do it, let me know. But I encourage you to look at the project tracking tab to see all of these widgets that we have up here. And if you want to create something similar, or maybe not the exact same thing, again, look at any of these. Click on the more options and go to settings, and you can see what we've done to set these up. So you can do something similar for your board if you want to. That's really it. I'm working with Tax. Tax kind of did the Monday.com first. So we'll see if we can't get a more comprehensive video for you guys on how to create some of these dashboards. But again, I hope for the most part it's fairly user-friendly. There's not a whole lot to it. So just keep updating that for us each Monday starting next week so we can have a good idea of where our plans are. Questions, comments, concerns, anything that you've looked at on your boards now that you want to know how to do that you don't know how to do that I can address while we're all on the call? Excellent. Then just one more thing, not necessarily related to Monday.com, but a little bit about scheduling. As we move into our nonprofit and EBP season, we just want to talk about availability emails, especially with our plans. Our plans aren't like financial statement audits, where it's kind of hard to pick up a random area of a financial statement audit without knowing too much about the client. Plans, though, these areas are broken out where you can pretty much do distribution testing for any plan or loan testing for any plan. So at the end of the day, if you're going to have, even if you've got 2 hours time, please reach out to the in-charges and managers to let them know that you've got a couple hours, because there's going to be little things like this trickling in that everybody could use your help on. Maybe it's uploading a trial balance. Maybe it's knocking out loan receivable testing. We're expecting to see more availability emails from the staff as we move into the summer season. So please manage your time wisely.
Before you stop sharing, Daniel, we didn't talk about this integrity column. So basically that column is how we're tracking like the utilization of integrity. And so you'll see there's a drop down menu of file setup and testing, like are the kind of the options of like what you can send to them. So basically if you're sending them a plan to get the trial balance set up, make selections and whatnot, that's kind of where you would select file setup so that we're tracking, okay, we sent this over to them to get the file set up. And if you sent them testing work to work on for a plan, that's where we would put in testing. So ultimately you can have both file setup and testing, but we're just trying to, this column basically is helping us track our utilization, like how we're using them. So that's why that column's there. And we just ask that you update that when, you're sending them stuff to work on basically.
And definitely use them. Like at the end of this, we want to be able to look and see Integrity did the testing for 100 plans. Well, if we had 2 more Integrity people, could we have upped that to 150 plans? So in general, at least for my plans, I'm hoping to see no no's. I either want file setup or testing, try to utilize them as much as possible. All right. Well, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now we can get into I have some stuff I want to talk about that's not RSM related, but I did want to open the floor up for any questions about any RSM stuff before I get into some other like non-RSM related things. So any
And I don't know if
questions?
this is not necessarily RSM related, or sorry if you were going to cover this already, but I was talking with Lori about it. We talked about now that, last year was the first year that we're putting our EBP trial balances into Caseware. So we kind of lost track of the way of comparing our financial statements to the Form 5500. We're just asking that you add that as a separate tab in the financial statement workbook now. So keep that in mind as you're starting to draft your financial statements and review those.
Okay, any specific RSM questions or anything? Okay. All right, so one thing I wanted to talk to everyone about is that we are working on centralizing, those pesky MFA codes, right? Everyone hates those things. Where did they go? How do I find it? I don't even know who got it, right? So basically at this point I know I've been bugging everybody, probably everybody's aware that I've been bugging you for logins, right? Login information for the bot. So anything where the bot is being utilized, like, so basically TIA, Fidelity, Empower, Transamerica, and ADP. Well, ADP doesn't have MFA, which is beyond me, but they should. But the other ones have been set up so that we have a centralized phone number / email address that those codes are now going to. So I wanted to show you how to access those, but I also wanted to request that going forward for the ones that aren't, our top 6 TPAs, if you can go ahead and change the information to the centralized email address / phone number so that we're all kind of on the same on the same page in terms of if somebody needs a code, this is where they go to get it, right? Versus having to figure out where to find that code and whatnot. So basically, you will see everybody should have access to the shared assurance folder in LastPass, and that's where our like Zoom logins already are if you use those. But you will see that there are 3 other ones now. One is TIA-CREF, which TIA-CREF, I think I've already mentioned this, that TIA-CREF is awesome. And I can't believe that they did this before anybody else, really, because I would never say they're awesome, but they are, because they made a firm manager login. So basically that means that I'm set up as the firm manager. I have my login has all of Smith & Howard's plans on it. So we no longer need 50 different logins for everybody. So basically that username and password is in the shared folder, and you can access all of our TIA-CREF plans using that login. Let me know if you don't have access to the shared folder, but that I'm aware of, everybody in the department should have access to the shared folder now. So that's how you will access TIA-CREF. You will also see that there is a Google Voice account and a email account. So EBP, I basically just named it EBP bot because ultimately the bot is using these. But that's what that means. You can access it as well. So the Google Voice account is basically a phone number where you can get the text message and get the code. You can log in yourself. It basically, the way it's set up is that now, like, I have my like personal Google account, right? But like the bot, once you log in, the bot will then show up as well as a login option. So I've created like a shortcut where I can easily just click here, go, and it'll open up. Here's the bot's Google Voice account. So literally, if I need to, get into one of those accounts and I need a code, I just go to this bookmark and there's my code. You'll see there's a bunch. Oh, and it looks like there's a bunch of spam in here too. But there's also codes. So let me know if you have any issues accessing this. I know there's several people that I've already kind of shared this with them and they have not had trouble getting into this Google Voice account, but let me know if you have any issues. It should be pretty straightforward. And then here is the phone number right here, call as. So when you're updating your logins that aren't those like top 6 providers, if you have, some one-off smaller, providers where we only have like a couple of plans and they do have an MFA, which they should, please go ahead and update the phone number to this number so that that is centralized. And then we also have an email address. So basically the bot has an email address. It's ebpbot@smith-howard.com. So I've essentially set that email address up as the email for all of these accounts. So the other good thing about this is that no one's going to be getting any of like the annoying spam type emails that we get from all these TPAs throughout the year as well. I know that that can be annoying. So that stuff's all going here. Like, for example, you'll see like there's 50 PSW reporting, emails here, which no one cares about, but we would get these, right? But now the bot is going to get these emails. So the way to access this, I think the first time you log in is going to be a little bit weird. I think Claudia tried to do it and it was confused because it was already logged into her account. So the first time that you do it, when you come to, basically you got to go to outlook.office.com, right? And I think that is where, let's see, where does this take you actually? Let me look. Yeah. Okay. So the link in LastPass does take you to that website, but what's going to happen when you first click that is it's going to get confused because it's going to be going to your account, right? Because it's already logged into your email, and so you basically have to log out of that. So you can just sign up in the right-hand corner here. You can sign out, and then once you're accessing this, it should ask you to sign in. So mine already has it set up so that the bot is showing up here, that email address, right? And I've got my email address, so both are showing up. But when you first do it, it's going to, you need to click use another account, basically. And then you'll go through the login process, right? So this would be EBP bot at smith-howard.com, and you would put the password in that's on LastPass. And then going forward, you will be logged in and you can just click, I want to log into EBP bot Outlook, right? And actually, I don't even think once you've done that once, when you come to click this like this, it will just automatically take you to that email. It remembers that this is where you want to be. So really, it's just the first time you log in that it's a little problematic in that getting logged in. So just let me know if you have any issues with that. I think you it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. But just know that you kind of have to log out first, log out of your account, and then sign in with a new add a new account, and then it'll be there basically. Any questions on how all that works? I think this is really good and it will be much less annoying because I know if you're the person that has the phone number or whatever, it can be very annoying. You're getting random texts and people are like, did you get the code? And and like trying to figure out, and then if you're the person sending the code, you're trying to figure out who did it go to, half the time. So this eliminates all of that. So I think this is going to be good. Okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm probably going to reiterate this a bunch because I'm currently, the update for EBPs just came out. And so I'm working on getting all those files updated. The thing that I'm seeing is that there was a lot of copying and pasting of case view documents from other files. And the reason I can tell that is because that when you do that, it messes up the update process. So when I'm going to update these files, I can tell that the documents that are not being updated were pulled. Basically, that means they were copied in from another file, which I hope this isn't going on a lot in financial statement audits because it's a lot less cookie cutter, I guess you could call it. And there's a lot of documents in the EBP files that are pretty similar across the board. So I think people were, hey, we got to get this file locked down and just copy and paste, copy and paste. But what that does is it messes up the update process. It also messes up the tailoring. You can't tailor if it's a program, for example, where you have a bunch of tailoring questions. Those tailoring questions won't work. So if you were doing this, you probably noticed that there was a bunch of questions that were there that shouldn't have been when you were answering yes or no to the tailoring questions. Daniel?
To clarify, you're talking about dragging in like the
From
document
another
from a different,
file.
not
Yep.
copying and pasting
No,
responses.
no. Yeah, you're perfectly welcome to open one, open
Yeah.
the other, copy over
Sure
what's
knows.
in it, but do not ever copy and paste from one file to the other like an entire document. That messes everything up. So please do not do that. I cannot stress that enough. We talked about it when we were doing the initial implementation, but I guess that didn't necessarily hit home. And I know there was like a mad rush with getting all this stuff locked down last year. And I'm sure that's what happened was people were just like, we got to get this file locked down, copy paste, but please do not do that. That makes the update process a lot more of a pain because I'm literally having to add new documents to all these files for the ones that are messed up, and it doesn't update them to automatically. The thing that's really unfortunate about this is that we are not going to get the benefit of the documents rolling forward where this was done, basically. So you're going to have to, it's going to be a blank form when you open it up, and you're going to have to open up the prior year one and do what Daniel was just saying, copy and paste between the two. Whereas if we hadn't have done this, it would have just rolled forward, right? So please, please, please do not do this ever again. Don't copy and paste case view documents. If it's something else, that's fine. If it's like a Word document or whatever, who cares? But case view documents can never be copied from another file. If it's a program, if it's, anything like that, just please, please, please do not copy and paste because it messes everything up. So yeah, so unfortunately, we're going to have to, if this was done, you're going to have to redo, your programs won't have like the tailoring questions already answered again. And, you're like, basically the benefit that we were going to get is that the tailoring questions would have already been answered, right? And like any documentation that you had in there would have rolled, and any document references, work paper references would have rolled forward, basically. But that unfortunately will not be there if this happened. So you're going to have to kind of start from scratch on those documents. Now that doesn't mean that you can't, like what I was saying, like you can totally open up the prior year and like copy the words from one to the other again. So we do have the benefit that it's already been completed. Like I will say that one of the documents that I saw this a lot with, which is not surprising to me, is the 1300 understanding the plan, right? Because like that document, there's a lot of kind of stock wording in there, except for like the top part that has the plan details. So that was copied and pasted a lot from other files, but you're going to basically have a blank document to start if that was done. And you're going to have to open up the prior year one and copy and paste like the stuff from the other one, unfortunately. So just know that there's not a problem if you open up your files and you see blank documents like that. That's intentional. Please, please don't copy from another file. If that's the case, don't be like, oh, what happened, and copy it in from the prior year file, because that messes everything up. So please do not do that. Any questions on that? I just want to, and I'm probably going to say this like a couple of more times just to make sure it hits home, because we should not be doing that. Okay. The other thing I wanted to stress is that the contribution risk, and I think this was kind of done inconsistently last year, the contribution risk that we have in the files is not a fraud risk. We determined last year that we did not think it was a fraud risk. So that being said, I think Integrity's been going through and kind of updating this based on if it was wrong, updating it based on that template, that we put out, the EBP spreadsheet or whatever that kind of shows all the screenshots and stuff. But basically, we determined this is not a fraud risk. This box should not be checked. And it shouldn't say, I've seen where sometimes it says like fraudulent revenue recognition, but it's not fraudulent revenue recognition. We determined that that was not what we were going to do for plans. So that being said, I want to make sure that people are updating the 3200 properly, because part of the fact that we're saying that that is not a fraud risk is that we need to be putting the stock wording in here. Did that copy over? No. So basically, we would say no here to have you created one or more significant risks related to fraud and revenue recognition. Oh, good, it kept it. Okay, so that's going to roll forward if you already had this in here, right? But we have some stock wording about basically if you say there is no fraud and revenue recognition, you have to explain why you think that. And so we've added some documentation here about why we're saying that. So please make sure this is getting into your fraud form if it wasn't already added last year. But I wanted to make sure because I feel like there was some inconsistency there, and I don't know that everybody understood that that's what we were doing. So I want to make sure that we have that correct across the board. So make sure, and this wording, I believe we have it in one of our like documents from last year where we had like, standard work paper answer, kind of things. I believe there's a document. Yeah, EBP audit work paper standard wording is in the EBP RSM implementation folder. Yeah. So this is the wording right here. So this can be actually, I'll add this to that spreadsheet that we have. So it's all like in one place. So that can be helpful to people. Any questions on that? Okay. So basically when you get in your files, it should be updated, like the actual risk should be updated, but just make sure that this wording is getting into your fraud risk forms. That's what I'll say there. Okay. All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is basically not the bot hasn't been run for all of the top six TPAs yet because ADP literally just released their audit package like yesterday or over the weekend or something because they're really slow. But basically all of them have been released and the bot has been run. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew what exactly the bot is downloading and how to utilize it. So, because it's very useful. Like a lot of what they're downloading is stuff that maybe previously we were going to the website to look up for our testing, for example. So this is saving us time. It's downloading what we would have had to go out there and grab anyways. So what I've done is I've added tabs to our EBP engagement tool. So you see at the end, there's like TIA setup instructions, TIA reporting, Empower. So I've got it for TIA, Empower, Fidelity, and Principal so far. So the setup instructions is basically what we sent to Integrity, telling them how to set up the files properly for each plan or each TPA, that is. So they have a very consistent process for this, and each of those files should look like almost exactly the same, like in terms of like what is pulled in for the trial, the trust statements, the trial balance creation and all that. We wanted to have very consistent, a lot of consistency there, in other words. So if I wanted to add this here just so that everyone's aware. And then if you have a new plan or something that's under this, you can, reference, they'll know, but you can see, this is what they're doing basically, and know that that was what they, what they were told to do when you're reviewing and all that. And then I've added a reporting tab, and basically what this is there's a column for the document name, and then I've added a column for the use. So, and then I've also put a header for like what folder it's in the purge section, basically. So for TIA, there's an audit package folder in every TIA plan purge section of the file. And then this is basically the documents for every TIA package. You will see this across the board. And basically I've added wording on, is this useful? What do we use this for? What can we use this in our testing? Is it for trial balance preparation? And whatnot. So Empower, same thing. You'll see there's a report downloads folder, and then there's also an audit minor reports folder. So we're Empower is one of the TPAs that we're sending to Audit Miner. And so that's why there's a folder for Audit Miner. And then there's also Empower Report Download. So basically this is what was downloaded by the bot. This is what came back from Audit Miner once we sent their stuff. So basically I've explained, what this is for. So like, for example, the bot downloaded a participant contribution election feedback document or spreadsheet. And basically that's your deferral election change log. You shouldn't have to go to the website to look up anybody's deferral election for your contribution testing. It's all right here in the purge section. You just need to access this document. And this is how every Empower file will look too. So just know that there's going to be consistency. You're going to have these documents for any Empower plan. You'll also see an enrollment log. There's an auto enrollment detail that can be used in our eligibility testing, right? We don't need to go on the website and look up whatever to find somebody's enrollment information, right? It's all in this folder. There's also a participant data extract. So the step where we're basically agreeing the personnel files to what's at the TPA. All of that data is in this document. We don't need to go and look it up on the website or look it up in the participant statements or anything like that. Basically, all of their data is in this document that you can verify. So please use this. This is helpful. So when you get into a file to do testing, open this up, like what can I use these different documents for? How are they going to help me? Participant deposit detail. This is going to be used in your idea remittance testing. And we've already got the document downloaded that we need. That kind of thing. You don't need to go out and download it. So, and then the Audit Miner documents, same thing. A lot of it's already been used for what Integrity did to make selections and whatnot, but you'll see that some of it can be useful. Like, for example, actually, they probably already did this as well too, but like there's a document that helps you that already has your schedule of assets right there, and you can copy and paste that into the report, for example, right? That's one of the documents that came back from Audit Miner. So just make sure you're looking at this. And of course, it's different for each TPA, right? The reports that we downloaded for Empower are totally different than what comes from Fidelity. Here's the list of Fidelity stuff. They also have a deferral election change log, right? So there is consistency in what you can download from different TPAs, obviously, but they're called different things and they look different, of course. So we have a deferral election change log. We have an enrollment log. We have, let's see, so the audit contribution summary, that's for our idea remittance testing. We have loan repayments. That's also for our remittance testing. So basically I've detailed out the uses of every document that should be in your purge section when you get into a file in one of these top 6. Well, right now it's like 5, I think, but principle, same thing. There's going to be consistency in what you get in each file. And they are very similar. That's what I'm saying. Like, so each one should have some kind of enrollment log, right? A deferral change election log, that kind of thing. So just know that those types of things that you need for your testing are going to already be in the purge section of your files if it's one of these big TPAs. Okay. So please don't, go out and spend time trying to find this stuff when you're going to do testing. A lot of it will be in that purge folder already for you. Any questions on that? And then this, of course, is in the EBP engagement tool, so you can access this. Like I said before, this is a living document. I've been adding stuff to this like daily, basically like getting you more information. Obviously, it's pretty large, but you can sift through the tabs and find what you need. But just know that this is out there for you to review when you're ready to start testing these plans. Any questions on this? Trying to think if there was anything else downloading. And we'll talk more about, I know I just said I'm working on getting the update out there, which there are some pretty decent changes, obviously, with the adoption of SAS 136, right? Overall, there's no real changes in our testing or anything like that, as we've been kind of saying for years since we knew this was coming out. But there is a lot of documentation type things that are changing. So we will talk more about that in our technical training that's coming up later this month. But just know that those updates are, rolling out now. And we'll talk more about those in general. But I guess just to reiterate, no copying and pasting from other files, right? And especially with EBPs, we don't really want to be copying and pasting from prior year anything really, like even like testing work papers, right? We already talked about that. Like testing work spreadsheet should come from the templates folder, not from your prior year file, because you can't just delete what was in there and start anew, right? Like all the formulas are messed up and whatnot. So please make sure you're pulling in clean testing templates. And, even like a Word, for example, like one of the documents that, maybe you would think about copying from prior year would be like, you're understanding the plan's financial reporting process, right? Because that's probably going to be pretty similar to prior year. There's wording changes in there related to SAS 136. So please don't do that. Like we have a new template. You can copy and paste like the documentation in there, like the answers, but like don't copy and paste the full document, for example, from prior year. And same thing with our evaluation of plans tax status. So some of these Word documents, there's a lot of things that referenced the certification, limited scope audits previously, which is no longer a thing. And we don't want any words that say limited scope in our files, right? So that's a lot of what this update is doing. It's removing anything that said anything about limited scope. It's updating for the new wording related to SAS 136. So let's not copy entire documents from the prior year file either, okay? So case view document, anything really. So especially in these EBP, now you can do that in financial statement audits. That's not really an issue, but for the EBPs, we really shouldn't be copying entire documents from either the prior year file or, from other files, that kind of thing. So just be careful about that and please don't do that going forward. All right, any other questions? This isn't, I thought we were going to go the full hour, but I think that's everything I had for now. Unless anybody has any specific questions. Okay. All right, well, thanks everybody. We'll meet again in a couple weeks. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Aaron.
Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.